Hey everybody, welcome to another Adventure Media live streaming video. I'm here with Betsy Hill. I'm Bob Bales of the Traveling Fool. Hey Betsy.
Hey Bob, how are ya?
Good. Today we're going to talk a little bit about travel during COVID because it's been a mess for the last 4 or 5 months. Everybody's cooped up in their house. They're going crazy. Divorces are happening. People are beating kids. They're starving to death because they can't go to restaurants. So we're going to talk a little bit about getting out of the house and traveling during COVID. And you've done some traveling, right, Betsy?
We are building a house in DeLand. So we've been back and forth to DeLand, to Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Virginia, Georgia. Travel is interesting. It's not unsafe. You do have to practice protocols. One of the things we've learned, particularly with road trips, Bob, is that you have to plan and you have to know what your states are doing. Case in point, when we went into Georgia, you could stop at the public rest stops, but you could not go into a gas station from the time we entered Georgia until right before the very last exit before we got out of Georgia and into South Carolina. So, if you plan, road trips are great. If you're not planning, they're not so good.
I've noticed that, and there's a lot of states that have restrictions. I'm not sure how well they can implement these restrictions unless you're flying into the state. But there's some states that have quarantine restrictions if you're coming from certain states. And I just saw, like, in Illinois, they don't really have a statewide restriction unless you're going to Chicago, and then you've got a quarantine. So I'm not real sure how they're implementing that or enforcing that. I think a lot of it's left up to people to do it on their own.
It is. And that was what we found when we went to Virginia. Jim and I had to go to Virginia in July to move my mom. And Virginia had a quarantine rule. Well, Jim and I figured we were only there for 72 hours. We were really only there going between my mom's house and Jim's brother's house. And so we literally did not quarantine, and we should have.
Yeah. And I understand the states doing things to try and keep their people safe, but I'm really not sure how well these rules are working for people. It's kind of like flying. Every airline has its own policies.
So have you flown, or what have you learned about flying? I know that our favorite line is Southwest, and they are being very safe, but I don't know about any of the others.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I saw an article about Southwest. They're leaving the middle seat open, and they're going to do that through Thanksgiving.
That's good. That's what they need to be doing.
You and I have a trip planned here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to Florida and Georgia, and I'm flying American Airlines. And I asked them, I said, so what are y'all's policies? Y'all keeping the middle seat open? They said, well, it depends on if the flight's full or not. So they're really not. I'm like, okay, well, the middle seat's open as long as nobody is booking a flight, right? And they're like, yeah, pretty much.
So there's not really, and see, that's the problem. With COVID, everything is different. Every airline is different. Every state is different, even regions within states. Now, tell me what they're doing in Texas, because I think Florida, from what I'm hearing from DeSantis's office, we're fully open back into phase 3. Where are you guys?
Well, the governor came out a couple of days ago and he implemented some new rules for opening. A lot of it's being left up to the counties and the city. And there's been a lot of pushback whenever the governor wants to open something. Some of the cities are saying, no, no, no. And the governor's saying, yes, yes, yes. So, but as a general rule right now, I think it goes into effect on Monday. Texas restaurants and retail offices or restaurants, retail stores, and offices are going to be allowed 75% capacity. Bars are still closed, but that affects bars where you just go in and drink.
Right. What about food? Has it got to be 50% food?
Right. So a lot of these bars that maybe we're just serving nachos have upped their game a little bit, and they're starting to serve more food so they can be open.
Right.
Nursing homes, which have been off limits for months, he just implemented a rule saying that as long as he's allowing 2 visitors per person,
Mm-hmm.
they have to put down there that they are approved visitors and that they understand they have to wear a mask and all this stuff, and that they do not have COVID. And he's allowing those 2 visitors to come in, go into the room, and actually visit people.
See, we're not able to do that. And the hard part for us is that we've got Jim's 98-year-old aunt, and we just went to see her for the first time since COVID yesterday. And we had to sit in the library 6 feet apart, wearing our masks. And it was great to see her. But it's still, they don't understand. A lot of them don't understand. They think they're being held captive, and they're not. But we're doing this for their own good. It's just hard. I can't even imagine doing international travel. I mean, that is just, I'm way not ready for that.
Yeah, and I looked at some of that. There's something like 23 or 24 countries where U.S. citizens can visit. Croatia is one. Cambodia is one. Thailand just opened up, or they said they're going to open up here in the next week or two, and allow people to stay up to 9 months as long as you be in the first 14 days.
That's impressive.
You stay for 3 months and then get 2 3-month extensions is what it amounts to.
Jim and I are hoping that the Bahamas will be open.
There's most of what is open, Caribbean, Aruba, and a lot of these other places, St. Vincent, Grenadines, and all that. They are open for business. Dominica and some of the others, and for the most part, and they all have rules. Some are saying that, well, if you come from certain states, you're going to have to quarantine for so many hours, or you have to show proof that you're COVID negative before you show up.
Right.
And just get a test and show them when that's within a couple of weeks or so. So if you are, Mexico's open. So if you are thinking about going, all you have to do is look on that country's tourism page, and they will tell you the latest requirements for visiting the country.
And I know right now that the Bahamas is open, but we don't know whether they're going to stay open or not. It's our hope that they will, because I'd love to be there in the winter, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I think it's all dependent, and it's going to be it is going to be an interesting year for travel and travel during COVID and all of it. And I think that each country and each state and each county, that's what I was looking for, county, is doing their own thing. But when you're traveling, I want to touch on some of the safety protocols, because safety is a big deal. And Jim and I have been staying in some hotels, and we were in Jacksonville in Ponte Vedra a couple of days ago, and stayed in a Hilton property. And one of the things I love about the Hilton property is that they have stickers on the door that say healthy, healthy and safe or something. So when you open the door, the sticker breaks. So you know that room has been cleaned and has been inspected. And that's a great comfort. And I know that they're using products that the CDC has said will kill COVID. We never felt uncomfortable. We've eaten out. We just choose to go to outside places to eat.
Yeah. And I think for the most part, people are adhering to safe standards. And when I'm not getting into politics or anything else, because everybody has all their own opinion. But for the most part, what they're finding is that this is really dangerous to the people who are older. And
absolutely.
that's why the nursing homes and things. You look at a lot of the statistics, they're saying, yes, it's contagious. For the most part, there's a lot of people going to get it, and they have mild symptoms for the most part. Yeah, instances where people get very sick and die from it. But the majority of people are elderly that are getting it and have underlying medical conditions. And I think most people understand that. Most people are adhering to the wearing of the mask. I hate wearing a mask, but if you go to the grocery store and they say, you want to come in, wear a mask. I wear a mask. I mean, it's their establishment. I'll do what they want.
Exactly.
If I go to a restaurant and they say you have to wear a mask unless you're eating, okay, well, I'll wear a mask. If you fly in, they say you have to wear a mask, okay, well, I'm not going to stand up and go, well, I refuse to wear a mask and get thrown off the plane and wind up in USA Today or something.
Yeah, and I think we just have to go through this and know that it is, they are implementing safety precautions, and we have to follow those safety precautions. And travel during COVID is going to change the way that we view things. I'm like you are. I think we've had enough politicization of stuff. And it's time that we look at things from a realistic standpoint and realize that we have this with us for a long time, and we're just going to have to deal through some of the hoops that we're going through. I don't like wearing a mask either, but I also know that it's for everyone's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll look at it this way. I mean, whether you're an airline, a restaurant, a grocery store, a shirt place where you go and buy clothing, that is your business. And
yep.
If you want to tell me I can't wear a hat when I walk into your clothing store, and I refuse to wear the hat, well, I'll just go shop somewhere else. But nobody has, as much as we think we do, nobody has a right to fly on United or American or Qantas.
Exactly.
Else. It's their airline. If you want to fly, you meet their rules. And if they say, well, the rule is that, you've got to show a negative test within the last 72 hours. Well, if I want to fly on whatever airline that implements that, then I'll do it. If I don't want to do it, I'll find another airline or not fly. I mean, I'm a big proponent of it. They make the rules. If I don't like them, I'll go somewhere else.
Agreed. So I think the bottom line is, friends, that you can travel. Your travel is going to be changed a little bit, but it's not going to be affected forever. And, if you're willing to follow the protocols and do what is necessary, travel is very safe.
I mentioned Qantas a minute ago. They're one of two airlines that are doing this, and for the life of me, I can't think of the second one. I think it's maybe Emirates is the other one. But Qantas, to show you how tired people are of just sitting around the house, Qantas offered a 7-hour flight to nowhere.
So they're just going to fly in the air for 7 hours.
That's what they're going to do. They took off, flew around Australia, flew over the Great Barrier Reef and all this, and landed back where they started. The flight was booked and sold out within 10 minutes.
Wow.
Personally, I wouldn't want to pay several hundred or $1,000 to go sightseeing in an airplane for 7 hours. But evidently, they had no flight. Now, I think Emirates is the other one that's doing it, offering a flight nowhere. It's either Emirates or somewhere in Asia that did the same thing. And they booked out and sold all their flights, within minutes of offering it. So
oh my gosh.
Just sitting around the house.
I can't do it.
Oh, and another thing I want to bring up, and I'm actually going to write a blog post about this here shortly, because it's something that's always been a pet peeve of mine, and that is resort fees.
Oh.
You were talking about what some of the hotels are doing, and I'll give you an example that people don't realize. You think of a resort fee, well, I'm not going to Hawaii or, Aruba, so I'm not going to a resort. I'm going to Dallas. You would be surprised at the hotels in Dallas charging a resort fee or a tourist fee.
Yes.
And they do it on top of, in a lot of cases, you don't realize it. You say, oh, this is okay, we'll give the real example, Las Vegas. Almost every hotel in Las Vegas offers a resort fee. And so when you see those $30 a night rooms, look at the resort fee and you'll find that some of those resort fees are $40. So you're paying more in a resort fee than you are for a room.
Exactly.
And when you ask them what it's covered, they say, well, that's for internet usage and the pool and a morning newspaper. Okay, well, especially during this time, a lot of hotels are not allowing you to use things like the gym, the pool.
I know.
But yet they're still charging you that as a resort fee. So if you're going to book a hotel, look and see if they have a resort fee or tourist fee that they're adding on to it and what it covers. And just tell them, I don't want to pay this, and negotiate it down. Some will say, okay, and get rid of it. Some won't. And if you feel like paying for something that you're not going to get, go ahead and book that room.
That's right.
If you don't, then find another hotel.
Well, and in that same vein, let's talk about the cover charge that goes on your restaurant bills. Jim and I were somewhere, some country club, and they charged now we were there as the guests of members, but they charged a cover charge and said, oh yeah, if you want to leave an additional tip, the suggested gratuity is 20%. And I'm thinking, well, you've already charged me a cover charge and now you want me to pay 20%? Yeah, no, not going to happen.
And I don't know if anybody or how many of them have implemented, but a few months ago it was being floated around by restaurants and hotels to charge a COVID fee.
I've seen a couple of them down in here in Florida.
And they're like, we're going to charge you a COVID fee, and that's for cleaning the room. Okay. Mm-hmm. You're telling me before this happened, you didn't clean the room?
That's my question.
You know, if you're going to charge me $10 extra because you have to clean the room, then it must have been really filthy before I showed up here 7 months ago.
Well, and then we're dealing with the fact that, in all honesty, I was talking with a friend of mine in tourism here in Florida. She's down 27% from last year. However, when she compares her down period to Orlando, which is 90% down, it's not bad. But the reason that tourism exists in destinations is they're getting money from what I call heads in beds. And if they're not getting those heads in the beds, then they're not getting the income. So yeah, their income is going to be down. And that's the sad part, because there are some destinations that don't have a lot of money anyway.
And a lot of these extra fees, like resort fees and COVID fees and all that other stuff that they tack on, is basically just a money grab, because
they
are taxed differently versus a room fee and a resort fee. They don't have to pay as much tax money if they call it a resort fee or a cleaning fee or daily incidental fee. You look at what covers, it says, some of them just say other stuff.
And you don't know what that is.
You know, and I'm sorry, but Motel 8 charging a resort fee. And there's some out there that are doing it.
Yeah, I know.
It could be $2 or $3 a day, but why am I just add to it? All they're doing is they're taking it, putting it over here so they have to pay less tax money.
That's right. You're absolutely correct. So travel during, I think to sum it up, travel during the time of COVID is different. It can be done. It can be done safely. But as Bob, you pointed out, check your receipt before you leave. And if you don't want to pay a resort fee, then two choices. Either don't stay there or you can fight it.
Right. And I I know that the majority of people right now, I've seen a lot of online polls and stuff that say a lot of Americans are planning for road trips more than normal. And like you said, just if you plan on going to another state, check the other state's rules on what they require. Even within the same state, states like Florida, Texas, California, they're big states. And you go from one area of the state to another, counties have different rules, and cities have different rules. I mean, the rules in Lubbock, Texas are not the same as they are in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
So you go out to a more rural part of the state or a state that's not been affected hardly at all. And then you come to Houston, people are looking around going, why are all the restaurants closed? Only offering takeout service, because they come from a place where there might be 100,000 people and there's only 2 that contracted COVID. They're fine now.
Exactly. And that's the way it is here on Hutchinson Island, where I live. We don't have a lot of cases. We have a lot of cases in the city, which would be the largest is Port St. Lucie or Martin County or Vero. They have larger cases than we have here on the island. But we're all falling into the same bucket when it comes to our counties. So,
and we're in the business, so we kind of understand it, but a lot of people don't understand tourism and how it affects things. If you want to take a trip to, I don't know, just pick a place, Miami, and you say, I'm going to go to Miami, and well, yeah, I'm putting tourist money in the hotel and they're getting a van. Well, you're also, that's everybody that works at that hotel, everybody at all the restaurants nearby, all the drivers and taxi drivers, everybody at the airport.
Exactly.
All the people at all the shops and attractions. It all falls under tourism. So if you're taking a road trip somewhere and you plan on staying, oh, well, we're going to go to Galveston for the weekend and we'll stay at a hotel and just hit the beach. Well, you're affecting more than just the income of that hotel.
I know. And you're affecting the restaurants, you're affecting the food that you're buying, you're affecting the gas that you're buying. You're affecting the entire community as a whole. And most people don't understand that. But anyway, so I think travel in the time of COVID is possible. And you just have to be careful and be aware and, check things before you go. And that's the basic message that Bob and I want to get out to you is that travel is possible. You want to travel to keep your taxes low because the more that we stay in places, the more income that area gets, keeping that area's taxes low. And quite frankly, you are helping to support the community. You're putting servers back in business. You're putting restaurants in business. You're putting hotels in business. You're putting cleaning people. I mean, it's an effect like a pebble thrown in the water.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of statistics that the tourism industry is probably the hardest hit of everybody during the COVID because
absolutely it is.
It affects restaurants, it affects everything,
Yep, it sure does.
But we're going to do our part here in about 2 weeks. We're hitting a couple of places in Florida and Georgia, and we're going to have a blast doing it.
I'm excited. I think you're going to love St. Simon's. Of course, everyone loves St. Augustine. And then we're going to a little off the beaten path destination, Villa Rica, Georgia, which is where gold was first discovered. So it ought to be really cool. It ought to be fun. We want you all to follow along. We'll be doing some live streaming. Bob has a trick up his sleeve in St. Augustine. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but I will say that it involves cigars. And in St. Augustine, there might be a little bit of fine bourbon and scotch involved. And certainly some delicious food.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And if you get a chance, look up Villiwica, Georgia, and what there is to do there and stuff. It's an interesting place. And look up St. Simon's in
Yep.
Georgia, and where we're going to be staying is a very historic hotel. And then, of course, St. Augustine, Florida has been on my list of places I've wanted to go forever. I mean, it's a fabulous place, and there's tons of stuff to see and do there.
All right, friends. So we will see you in next week. And Bob, we will recap our trip to Georgia and Florida. And hopefully, got my fingers crossed that we'll have a special guest next week.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, friends.
Take care.